Hey guys, tonight we drift back in time to a far-off island in the Indian Ocean, to a place where the night hums with insects, the air smells of burnt lemongrass and wet soil, and the fields shine silver beneath a gentle moon. You're standing just at the edge of a rice paddy in Madagascar, yes, the one with the lemurs and baobab trees. But tonight, you're not here for wildlife, you're here for something older, quieter, stranger, a ritual, a gathering that will go on for days, and you probably won't survive this, not because it's dangerous, but because it's so slow, so winding, so full of symbolism and long silences, you might just doze off before the rice even gets planted. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is right now. I bet it's either way too late or just 5 more minutes. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You arrive just before dawn. The stars haven't quite faded, but the eastern sky glows faintly orange, like someone gently pressed a candle behind parchment. Around you, mist floats low across the earth, thin, delicate veils of it clinging to rows of half-dry rice stalks and crusted furrows. The paddies stretch outward in shallow steps, tiered like muddy mirrors reflecting ghostly trees and the silhouette of tall, narrow houses on stilts. Your feet squish softly into the cool earth. Someone hands you a bundle of folded raffia cloth. It smells faintly of dust and fish, and motions for you to wrap it around your waist. There's no discussion. You obey. That's the way here. A soft chant begins from somewhere you can't see. Just 2 voices at first, one brittle and old, the other high and quivering. It swells barely, then stops. The villagers are gathering. One by one, figures emerge from the dark like smudged shadows. Grandmothers with wide cheekbones, bare-chested boys clutching reed baskets, girls with braided hair and sleepy eyes, and a few men already painted with rice paste on their cheeks. You stand among them, still, watching, listening, waiting for something to begin that technically it already has. And then out of the mist comes the elder. He's wrapped in a cloak, so worn it looks like dried seaweed. He carries a flat, polished stone in one hand and a carved staff in the other. There's something unsettling about his pace, measured, yet unbothered by mud or rock. His eyes are nearly closed. He walks like he's asleep, like he's already dreaming the ritual you've yet to see. He stops at the very edge of the field. Everyone follows suit, forming a wide crescent behind him. Someone clears their throat. A baby coughs. A chicken flaps its wings furiously, as if just now realizing it's in the wrong scene. Then silence. The elder kneels, and with the stone, he scrapes a shallow trench into the earth, maybe 6 inches long. He scoops a handful of water from a nearby gourd, sprinkles it in, then presses 3 grains of uncooked rice into the damp soil. The first furrow. Now, if you were hoping for fireworks or a dramatic invocation involving thunder, sorry, this is the opposite of that. This is sacred in the quietest sense, the way monks might water bonsai trees, the way a library smells at 3 a.m. when no one's touched the books in hours. This act, the tiny furrow, the 3 grains, the splash of gourd water, signals the formal beginning of the rice ritual. And historians still argue whether it's older than the Sakalava kingdom, or whether it's something even the ancient marina borrowed from early Austronesian settlers. Either way, it's definitely older than the smartphone in your pocket. Someone begins to hum again, and this time you recognize the pattern. It's a rice song. They only use it at the beginning of planting season, and again before the first harvest. It has no true words, just sounds that mimic the rush of water, the slap of muddy feet, the chatter of birds. It's meant to make the rice feel welcomed. Yes, feel. Rice isn't just a crop here, it's alive, it listens, it sulks. Some elders swear that when a person curses during planting, the rice hears and withholds its best kernels. Superstition? Maybe. But given how much rice gets eaten per person here, over 130 kilograms per year, you'd better not offend it. You kneel too, awkwardly, unsure whether to touch the mud. A woman next to you chuckles softly and smears a streak of paste across your forehead. It smells like wet flour and something faintly fermented. You're part of it now. A distant conch shell moans from the opposite hill. Birds startle from the reeds. Someone claps once, then again. And suddenly people begin to move, not with urgency, but with quiet precision. They form lines, not unlike those old-school lunch queues you might have seen in elementary school, except instead of hairnets and trays, they're holding palm-wrapped bundles of rice seedlings and singing in call and response. By now the sun has broken the horizon. Golden light spills across the field, transforming puddles into shimmering plates of fire. Dragonflies dart like little neon dancers. Someone hands you a reed cup filled with something warm and slightly bitter. It's a tea brewed from rice husk and dried lemongrass, meant to bind your stomach to the work, as the woman says. Whatever that means, you sip it anyway. Nearby, an older boy begins sketching something in the mud with a stick. You glance over. It's a fish, a rice fish. Not the edible kind, but the spiritual one. Supposedly, when one appears in the paddies naturally, it foretells a prosperous harvest. But when it doesn't, the kids draw it anyway, hoping to nudge fate along with a little artistic license. There's your quirky tidbit of the day, drawing lucky fish in the mud to trick the gods. You glance across the field one more time. It's no longer a farm. It's a theatre stage, a breathing canvas of tradition, belief, and deliberate slowness. There's a soft joy in the repetition, a rhythm to this ritual that you feel in your shoulders, your knees, even your eyelids. And as the hum of voices returns and the scent of early morning blossoms tickles your nose, you settle in. You're not just observing anymore. You're part of the field. The rice doesn't get planted all at once. Not here, not in this village, not in this slow world of symbols and whispers. You wake from a momentary haze. Yes, you drifted off for a second, and no one blamed you, just as the elder stands again, lifting a shallow bowl high above his head. It's filled with water, but not just any water. This has been stored for months in a ceramic jar sealed with beeswax. Rainwater, caught during the first thunderstorm of the year, filtered through woven mats of banana fibre and mixed carefully, reverently, with ash from the last year's harvest fire. That's what they're holding, sacred rain and memory charcoal. It sloshes gently as the elder moves down the line, each villager dipping their fingertips into it before tapping the ground. You copy the motion. Your fingers are cold, the ash makes tiny black rivers across your skin, and the moment feels curiously holy, like you've just participated in something ancient, maybe even accidental. Historians still debate what the ash mixture was really for. Some say it symbolizes renewal, death feeding life. Others argue it was early fertilizer science discovered accidentally by farmers long before soil labs and bar charts. A few even suggest it had antiseptic properties, primitive crop hygiene. But the villagers? They just call it the remembering water. You walk the edge of the field, bare feet caked in mud, as a low rhythm begins again. Not a song this time, but a steady tap-tap sound. You turn. They're pounding small wooden sticks into the ground, not too deep, and not randomly. Each hole is part of a silent grid, known only to the planters. In between these sticks the seedlings will go. Not by handfuls, but one stalk at a time. And here's your reality check. This takes forever. You stand and watch for a while. No one's rushing. One old man adjusts his seedling's angle with the same care you might give to straightening a painting in a museum. A child beside him copies the gesture with her tongue poking out. In this village, planting rice is a form of art, or maybe a quiet rebellion against modern timekeeping. One woman kneels beside you. Her raffia shawl is streaked with salt, and her hands are cracked but gentle. She dips her fingers into the bowl of ash water, swirls them, and begins to speak, not to you, but to the ground. She's telling the soil a story, about her son who lives in the city now, about how last year's rice didn't taste the same, about a dream she had where the field turned into a sea of birds. You just sit and listen. Because who argues with someone speaking to dirt? This moment is also practical. The act of speaking into the soil has an actual name here, Mitsangana Aminni Teni, to rise up with the land. It's supposed to ensure the rice absorbs your intentions. If you're angry or selfish, the crop withers. If you're kind, it thrives. It's not about belief, it's about behavior. Of course, it doesn't always work. In 1863, a devastating blight swept through this region, killing almost 70% of the rice in some valleys. Some said it was the French, others blamed a forgotten ritual. But even then, they kept planting, kept talking to the earth. What else could they do? Nearby, a cluster of children are playing a game in the mud. It's like hopscotch, but the squares are drawn with bits of charcoal and shaped like little rice grains. Each child names their square after an ancestor. When one loses balance and falls, everyone laughs. Not meanly, just expectantly. Falling is part of the fun, you overhear one of the elders chuckle. Durst chuckle. If the rice spirits laugh at us, maybe they'll go easier on the harvest. It's unclear whether he's joking. At midday, the sun sits directly overhead. Shadows vanish. A slight breeze carries the scent of lemongrass smoke again, but now it's mixed with something else, ginger perhaps, or wood sap. You wander toward a small gathering at the edge of the fields. A few women squat around a low fire, fanning embers with flat woven trays. A clay pot sits in the center, its lid rattling faintly. One of them opens it. Steam bellows upward, thick and fragrant. Inside, sticky rice. It glistens, almost translucent. A man scoops a portion with a shell and holds it up to the light, inspecting the way it clumps. Everyone leans in. It's not just food, it's a reading. The stickier the rice, the closer the community. If it falls apart, something's wrong. Someone's keeping secrets. Today, it holds together. There's a collective sigh. The rice spirit is satisfied, for now. You're handed a small leaf bowl and invited to try it. You hesitate. The last thing you ate was, probably a snack before bed, which may or may not have been a regrettable handful of chips. This rice tastes like earth and smoke and the faintest trace of coconut. You chew slowly. One of the older men leans toward you, eyes twinkling, and whispers, "Some say rice cooked like this can show you your future love, if you eat it facing the sunrise." You turn quickly toward the east. He cackles. "Too late." Rice jokes. "That's two in one sitting. You're becoming one of them." After the meal, a curious ritual begins. Grandmothers move quietly across the paddies with small bundles of salt wrapped in dried banana leaf. They pause at each corner of the plot, dig a shallow hole with their bare hands and bury the salt. No one explains why, but you notice that they move in specific directions, clockwise for old fields, counterclockwise for new ones. One of the women notices you watching and says softly, "It's to keep the jealous things from wandering in." You nod as if that makes sense. Historians aren't quite sure what jealous things refers to. Some believe it's a memory of old tribal conflicts. Others say it's symbolic, a way to ward off misfortune. One French ethnographer in the 1920s insisted it was to confuse Kalanoro, tiny forest spirits who hate salt and always walk in straight lines. Regardless, the practice continues. Always four corners, always buried by someone who's had more than 5 grandchildren. That part's non-negotiable. You lie back on a dry patch of grass, the sounds of chatter, laughter, and far-off drums blending with the rustle of reeds. Above, clouds drift lazily across a pale blue sky. A lemur howls distantly, off-script, but somehow appropriate. And as the sun begins its slow descent, you feel the heat slipping away, replaced by the slow crawl of evening air. Another chant rises. This one's lower, almost humming, and you close your eyes just for a moment, letting it carry you deeper into the rhythm of the ritual. Because tomorrow there will be dancers, and you'll want to be well rested. You wake to the jingling of seed pods, and the scent of sweat warmed by sunlight. It's late afternoon now, though time doesn't flow normally here. It sort of seeps between events like water through loamy soil. The sky's taken on that golden softness it wears just before sunset, and the paddies shimmer with reflections of long-limbed people moving rhythmically through the fields. They're dancing. And not just any dancing, this is the sacred Hazo Tokana procession, and those dancers in red raffia skirts. They've been preparing for this moment for months. You sit upright, blinking slowly as the scene unfolds. The dancers come from the north edge of the fields, bare feet kicking up sprays of muddy droplets as they move with a strange, deliberate asymmetry. One leg stomp, one toe dip, one sweep of the arms like they're brushing invisible threads off the air. Each dancer wears a raffia garment dyed crimson with powdered bark and hibiscus, the fibres rustling with every movement. Around their ankles and wrists, tightly bound rings of dried seed pods, which rattle with every twist and bend. The sound is somewhere between a maraca and a distant rainstick. You're hypnotized in seconds. An old man sitting beside you leans over and mutters, "Those steps, they're not for humans to understand. They're for the rice." You nod like this is normal. According to oral tradition, these ritual steps mirror the growth cycle of the rice plant, from the first tentative sprout to the stretching, bending, and finally, the bowing of the stalk as it matures. It's part dance, part offering, part memory in motion. No two villages do it quite the same. Historians still argue whether these movements trace back to early Austronesian seafarers or were later adaptations of East African harvest ceremonies. Some believe the red raffia colour comes from a belief that rice gods are easily distracted. Bright fabric keeps their attention from drifting away. You notice that none of the dancers smile. Their expressions are blank, serene, trance-like. That's intentional. This dance isn't a performance. It's a conversation between body and soil, between breath and stalk. Suddenly the drums begin. 4 men at the far end of the paddies sit cross-legged behind carved amponga, long, hollowed-out logs with sun-dried cowhide stretched taut across their tops. They beat in a pattern you can't quite predict. It loops and stumbles. It rolls forward, then halts, like a sentence someone keeps forgetting the end of. But the dancers understand. Their bodies shift to match the pulse exactly. You stand, a little dizzy, and follow the rhythm to a narrow path lined with palm leaves. Here, several women squat with bundles of fresh lemongrass, lighting stalks and fanning them gently to keep the smoke low and steady. It creeps along the ground in thick, fragrant ribbons, wafting into the fields. You crouch beside them. One hands you a small bundle, already lit, and with a grin she says, "Keep the flies away." And the spirits that nibble ankles. She doesn't clarify which is worse. Burning lemongrass serves a triple purpose here. It soothes the nose, discourages mosquitoes, and, according to village belief, it clears the air of wordless ghosts. These are spirits said to have died in silence, often without rituals or family present. They linger like static in a radio, disrupting crops and dreams. One woman fans her bundle toward a particularly stubborn patch of stalks and mutters, "Go on now, shoo. This isn't your harvest. You help for a while, the smoke leaving fine trails along your arms and clothes. Your eyes water slightly, but your head feels clearer, calmer, or maybe just woozy from heat and scent and too much spiritual multitasking. As the light begins to dim, you notice that the dancers have stopped moving, but not because the ritual is over. They're simply pausing, still as stone, while the drums continue. You're told this moment is meant to invite the anitra, the spirit of the rice itself, to step into the bodies of the dancers. And if you think that sounds dramatic, wait until one of them begins to sway backward, eyes fluttering, head rolling on her shoulders like a boat on slow waves. You wonder for a second if she's okay, but no one reacts. This is what's supposed to happen. She's not alone. Another dancer drops to one knee, whispering something into the soil. A third lifts her arms and begins to spin, not quickly, but with purpose, like a compass finding north. You're not sure whether to be impressed or very concerned. So you choose both. That's 3 quirky things you've now seen that will be impossible to explain at work tomorrow. Assuming you ever return. The sun finally dips behind the trees and shadows stretch long across the earth. The villagers begin to gather again, this time around a cluster of small, woven mats laid out near a central altar. At the center of the mats is a curious object, a ceramic bowl filled with rice and floating on top, a single red chili balanced like a tiny canoe. You inch closer. Someone whispers, "If it sinks before midnight, the harvest fails." You don't breathe. Every few seconds the chili wobbles. You stare at it like it owes you money. Then something brushes your hand. A child, probably 6 years old, eyes wide as moons, presses a small object into your palm. You open your fingers. It's a rice grain amulet. A tiny braid of dried rice stalks tied with thread, and one shiny black seed in the middle. "To protect your dreams," she whispers. You thank her, uncertain whether to bow or offer candy. You do both, and then the chili tips slightly but doesn't sink. Everyone exclaims softly, like someone scored a goal in slow motion. Someone nearby laughs. "It's only day 1. That chili's got nerves of steel." Evening deepens. The fireflies arrive, and the dancers step slowly away from the fields, sweat glistening on their shoulders, seed pods still rustling like soft applause. You sit back down on the grass, the rice amulet still warm in your hand. The drums fade, the chili floats, and somewhere in the distance a nightbird sings a single note, then falls silent. You close your eyes again, just for a moment, and let yourself become part of the silence. Night settles like a heavy cotton blanket, not fast, but slow and careful, tucking itself into the folds of the hills and between the stalks of young rice. Overhead, the stars begin to prick through the darkness, first one by one, then all at once, until the sky feels like it's been peppered by a sleepy giant with a glitter shaker. You hear them before you see them. Footsteps in the grass, the soft creak of woven baskets, a few low murmurs in the dark. It's time for the midnight offerings. Here in this valley, each household prepares a gift for the rice spirit, not during the day when things are too busy, too loud, but at night, when the fields are quiet and the veil between worlds feels thinner, like gauze. You follow a small group moving slowly toward the central paddy, barefoot and bundled in shawls. No torches, no shouting, just fireflies and a few faint oil lamps swaying from thin wooden poles. Their flickering light makes everything look softer, as if the world is breathing more slowly. Each family carries a banana leaf parcel. No 2 are the same. One smells like cooked eggplant, another like dried honeycomb. A third one has something inside that rattles faintly. You glance down at yours. Yes, somehow you've ended up with one too. A woman pressed it into your hands before you could refuse. It's warm, slightly damp. You don't dare open it yet. The group stops at a small altar made of river stones and bound reeds. It's humble, about knee-high, but covered in offerings from earlier. Bundles of herbs, tiny pots of rice, even a child's drawing carefully folded and tucked under a pebble. One by one, the villagers approach, kneel, and place their banana leaf offerings at the base. But they don't just drop them and leave. Each person whispers something. You lean in. The whispers aren't prayers in the usual sense. They're more like secrets, half-thoughts, a memory from childhood, a request for good dreams, a promise to finally talk to their sister again. One man places his bundle down and says softly, "May the stalks grow straight and the rains wait until we've patched the roof." Another whispers, "Let the baby stop crying during thunderstorms." You realize that none of these are about rice, not really. They're about life. Rice just happens to be listening. When it's your turn, you kneel in the grass. The earth is warm from the day's sun. You open your banana leaf. Inside is a small piece of dried ginger, a few grains of sticky rice, and a tuft of coarse black hair. You pause. Whose hair? No one tells you, but it's part of the ritual. Every offering includes a trace of the household, a piece of them. Something from the body, something from the table, something from the land. You place it gently on the pile, unsure what to whisper. So you say the first thing that comes to mind. Let the world slow down just a little longer. The wind shifts, no response, of course. But the silence afterward feels like someone listening. As you walk back toward the village, you pass a coop full of sleeping chickens. Or rather, not sleeping, they're silent, too silent. You stop. Chickens, as a rule, do not care about your bedtime. They cluck, they shuffle, they mutter about existential dread and whatever's happening 2 coops over. But tonight, nothing. An elder walking past notices your expression. He pauses, then whispers, "It's the omen hour." You resist the urge to say, "Cool, that sounds totally fine," and not at all ominous. She continues, "If the chickens fall silent, something's coming, or someone." You glance back at the coop. Still no sound. Of course, chickens are notoriously inconsistent omens. Some years they go silent and nothing happens. Other years they cackle all night and the crops still drown. Historians argue whether this omen hour predates rice cultivation or came later, possibly influenced by Islamic or animist beliefs. Either way, it's taken seriously here. A boy sneezes, someone drops a pot in the distance. Still, the chickens say nothing, as you walk a little faster. Back at the village centre, the mood shifts again. A young man appears carrying something large and awkward in his arms. Zebu horns, freshly painted, the tips still shiny with lacquer. He walks with purpose through the village, past homes and watchful dogs, to the family burial plot just beyond the last line of sugar palms. You follow, because that's what you do now. The burial area is a raised patch of land surrounded by thick brush. It's quiet here, peaceful. A few stone markers stand upright, half swallowed by grass. The young man kneels beside one, his grandfather, you guess, and presses the horns into the soft earth. He speaks aloud. "You told me the birds meant rain. You told me not to plant until the spiders vanished. I didn't listen, but I'm here now." He stands, walks away, says nothing else. The horns stay. This part of the ritual is less known to outsiders. It's deeply personal. Each family honors their dead differently. Some bring woven mats, others offer tobacco or string. But the painted zebu horns are particularly significant. In Malagasy culture, the zebu, those humped cattle with enormous personalities, are more than livestock. They're family, wealth, memory, status. A horn placed at a grave is a sign of reverence, of connection, a reminder that the rice in your hand and the bones beneath your feet come from the same story. You return to the village in thoughtful silence. Someone offers you a drink, mild, warm, slightly sweet. It tastes like rice water with a hint of fermented banana. Comforting, in a weird way. They call it ranon ampango, made from the crusty bottom layer of cooked rice. Basically, rice tea, and honestly, it's delicious. Nearby, a group gathers around a low fire where a barefoot scribe begins reading from an ancient Sorabe scroll. He has no shoes, but his fingers are stained with ink. His voice is soft, like wind through papyrus. He reads slowly, syllable by syllable. The script flows from right to left, Arabic-inspired, but written in Malagasy. The scroll is brittle, spotted, probably older than most of the people listening. The passage tonight is a harvest forecast, a dream recorded long ago by another scribe. It mentions 3 winds, a fish with no eyes, and the laughter of rice before it rains. No one asks what it means, they just nod. Even the bees hovering near his inkpot seem calm. As you lie back, resting your head on a folded shawl, the stars overhead multiply again. The night wraps tighter around the hills. Someone nearby hums a lullaby, something about a moon that can't find its reflection. And for now, that's enough. By now, you've lost all track of time. Your body knows it's still night, but your thoughts float somewhere between yesterday and never. The earth beneath you is warm where the fire used to be, and in the soft shadows of half-sleep, a new pattern begins to unfold in the village. People are stirring, not quickly, but with quiet urgency, like the first ripples before a rainstorm. A child tiptoes past you, carrying a shallow woven tray of uncooked rice. She's careful with every step, balancing the tray like it's a sleeping animal. You follow her, curious, stretching your legs and brushing the dried grass from your clothes. The stars are still out, but the horizon is thinking about sunrise. Just thinking, though, no commitments yet. She leads you to a clearing where a dozen or so villagers have gathered. No fire, no torches, just low lamplight and the sharp smell of crushed herbs. At the center of the group stands a stout woman, with arms like braided rope and a face full of early morning defiance. She's holding a clay bowl and murmuring under her breath. Someone hands her a conical wooden pestle, and she begins. Thunk, thunk, thunk. The sound is steady, soothing. You're watching the moment the fast ends. In this village, no one eats until day 4 of the rice ritual, not properly at least. There are little tastes here and there, symbolic mouthfuls, ritual sips, but the real meal waits until the rice spirits have been greeted, thanked, and satisfied with their first offering. Why day 4? Well, that depends who you ask. Some say it aligns with an old lunar cycle. Others claim it's about humility. How can we feed ourselves before feeding the ancestors? And a few insist it's just practical. The body digests more gratefully when it's reminded what hunger feels like. Historians still debate whether this custom is rooted in pre-colonial religious taboos or a more recent adaptation, possibly influenced by fasting traditions introduced during periods of Islamic trade contact. But here it doesn't feel academic. It feels lived in, deeply woven. The pounding continues. Now, 2 women take over, alternating their rhythm so smoothly you'd think they'd rehearsed for weeks. Their bodies rock in sync. One chants a line, the other answers. The rice starts to transform under their hands, whole grains to crushed ones, crushed to a fine powder that clings to the pestle's sides like memory. You're handed a cup of warm water infused with ginger and dried betel leaves. It tastes earthy and sharp, but it wakes something in your belly, a flicker of anticipation. Your stomach grumbles loudly. A man nearby smirks. That's the rice saying hello. You can't even be embarrassed. As the sun finally peeks over the hills, casting long gold fingers across the paddies, the energy in the village changes. Smoke rises from new fires. Baskets are unpacked. Old iron pots clatter into place on 3 stone hearths. Everyone moves with a kind of joyful urgency. The rice spirit has been properly greeted. Now it's time to feast. You drift toward the scent of roasting greens, of crushed peanuts sizzling in clay pans, of coconut milk bubbling into something thicker, richer. One dish smells like caramel and smoke, another smells like rain on stone. Children dart between fires, laughing, chasing each other with strips of banana leaf. Someone pulls you into a circle where 6 people are squatting over woven trays, preparing malami, a soft, sweet rice cake steamed in banana leaves and layered with spices, sometimes even bits of zebu fat, if the family's generous. One old man gestures for you to try, shaping one. Your fingers fumble. Your leaf rips. Everyone laughs, not unkindly. He helps you start again. As you work, he tells you something odd. The first rice plant grew from a tooth. You blink. He nods. A giant's tooth. He lost it. He lost it in the rain. When the sun came back, the tooth sprouted leaves. That's why the roots are sharp. They remember the bite. Is it true? Absolutely not. Is it sacred? Completely. Stories like these drift from mouth to mouth as the food takes shape. Rice isn't just nourishment here. It's a personality, a trickster, a sometimes vengeful but always necessary spirit. If it fails, you fail. If it thrives, you don't gloat. You say thank you and plant again. Before long, the feast is ready. The first bowl is placed before the main rice altar, beside a woven mat and a fresh reed flute. A few grains are sprinkled in each of the 4 cardinal directions. Then someone begins to serve, and serve, and serve. You're handed a bowl that steams in the cool morning air. It's packed with sticky rice, grilled greens, a sauce made from ground peanuts and herbs, and something that might be fried squash blossoms. You take one bite and immediately forget every overpriced brunch you've ever had. It's earthy, creamy, slightly tangy, and somehow quiet. As you eat, someone near you raises a cup of tokagasi, a homemade rice liquor. It smells like regret, but tastes surprisingly smooth. They offer you a sip. You decline, then accept, then cough. An older woman pats your back. You'll dance better now. You don't know what that means yet. A quiet hum begins around the edges of the gathering. It's not a song, at least not one you recognize, but a kind of shared vibration, a rhythm people feel rather than sing. Someone begins to drum on a clay pot. Another claps in sync. You realize this isn't just digestion, it's celebration. Nearby, a group of children begin a game that involves tossing rice grains into each other's open palms. One boy gets hit in the nose. He laughs like it's the best thing that's happened all week. Someone yells, "That means you'll marry a rice farmer." Everyone groans. He beams. The sun's climbed higher now, chasing away the last of the mist. You glance down at your bowl, still half full, still warm. The rice sticks to your fingers in a way that feels strangely intimate, like it's clinging to you on purpose. A woman beside you says rice that stays with you is rice that knows you. You don't know what it means, you don't need to. You lean back, belly full, heart quiet, and watch as the rice ritual enters its next phase. Names, omens, and maybe, just maybe, visions. But for now, you simply breathe, and let the feast do what it was always meant to do, remind you you're alive and not alone. After the feast, a hush settles over the village, but not the kind of hush that comes from exhaustion. No, this one's expectant, watchful, like the rice fields themselves are holding their breath, because now comes one of the strangest moments in the entire ritual. The rice spirit needs a name, not a metaphor, not a poetic phrase, a real name, spoken aloud, invented new every year, and the only one allowed to speak it? A child. You're guided toward the sacred circle near the paddies where the ceremony will take place. The ground has been swept clean. A ring of small stones marks the border. In the center sits a stool carved from a single piece of rosewood, smooth with age, gleaming with polish, and slightly crooked, like it's always leaning just a little toward the east. A girl is waiting there. She's maybe 7, maybe 9. Her face is solemn, round, with eyes too big for her body and a crown of braided hair tied with stalks of dried rice. She wears a plain cotton dress, but around her neck is a string of tiny bones. Not creepy bones, just tiny animal ones, polished and worn like beads. She doesn't speak, not yet. The villagers gather in a wide circle, sitting in rows, some fanning themselves with palm fronds, others chewing quietly on a post-meal sugar root. The air is heavy with anticipation, and the sun, now nearly noon, is high and hot, pressing down like a warm thumb on your back. One of the elders steps forward and raises a hand. "This child has dreamed," she says. She has heard the rice spirit whisper. You can't help it. You lean forward just a bit. Now, depending on who you ask, this part of the ritual either emerged from indigenous animist beliefs about spirits choosing their own vessels, or evolved later, during colonial times, as a coded act of resistance, a way of passing power to the powerless. Either way, historians still debate whether this naming ceremony is symbolic or prophetic, but in the village, no one doubts it matters. The girl steps onto the stool. She's quiet for a long time. A dragonfly lands on her shoulder. She doesn't move. Then she speaks. One word, 3 syllables. You don't recognize it. No one does. It sounds like wind through tall grass, or maybe like someone humming with their mouth full. She repeats it, louder, with certainty. Andaliko. A low murmur rises from the crowd. Some smile, some look uneasy. One woman claps once. The elder repeats the name. Andaliko. The rice spirit this year is Andaliko. Everyone bows their heads. You do too. The name will be spoken daily until the harvest ends. It will be sung during blessings, whispered into granaries, carved into walking sticks. If the yield is good, it will be etched into a stone and added to the ancestral path that curves through the hills like a spine made of history. If the yield is poor, well, it won't. The girl steps down, her duty complete. Someone hands her a bowl of rice with honey and roasted nuts. She eats in silence, staring straight ahead like someone who just delivered divine mail and now needs a snack. Then something scuttles by your foot. You look down and freeze. It's a beetle, shiny, black, the size of your thumb, the size of your... And without thinking, you shift your foot and crunch. You gasp. There's a beat of total silence. You feel every eye on you. The elder who announced the girl's dream turns slowly, gaze landing squarely on your face. She doesn't look angry, just curious. You stepped on it? You nod, suddenly aware of every drop of sweat on your spine. Another elder leans in and mutters, "Could be an omen?" A third replies, "Or it was just a beetle." A fourth, "But during naming hour?" And then someone laughs. It's not mean. It's more relieved. Attention broken. Others join in. Before long, the entire circle is chuckling softly. The elder waves a hand. "Don't worry, it wasn't a rice beetle." You're not entirely sure what a rice beetle is, but you don't ask. Later, someone hands you a small token, a woven bracelet made of rice stalks and tied with a single, very large beetle shell, a souvenir, a joke, a reminder. "Wear it," the woman says. "So the other beetles know you're sorry." That's beetle joke number one. Probably not the last. With the naming complete and the spirit acknowledged, the mood begins to shift again, this time towards celebration. But not quite the feast kind, not yet. It's more fermented? Yes, it's millet beer hour. You follow a trail of laughter and clinking gourds toward the north side of the village, where large clay pots have been uncovered, revealing a bubbling, slightly foamy liquid that smells like banana bread left too long in the sun. Millet beer, betsa, is earthy, sour, and mildly alcoholic. It's made by soaking crushed millet, mixing it with a bit of cooked rice, and letting it sit in warm jars for several days. The result is cloudy and unpredictable. It also causes arguments. A group of uncles are already 2 cups deep into a friendly debate that has spiraled into ancestral one-upmanship. "My great-grandfather invented fermentation," one insists, slapping the clay pot with pride. "Yours drank spoiled river water," the other fires back. Someone laughs so hard they spill half a gourd into their lap. And yet, no one gets angry. It's all part of the ritual. Disagreement is expected, encouraged even. It's believed that a little heat among the living pleases the dead, makes them feel like they're still part of the party. You're offered a cup. You hesitate. Someone says, "One sip," or the rice spirit thinks you're rude. That's not exactly how peer pressure works, but okay. You drink. It's indescribable. Tangy, slightly fizzy, faintly smoky, like kombucha met moonshine and got confused halfway through. You smile. Everyone cheers. One of the tipsy elders leans over and whispers, "Now you'll dance until the sky turns pink." You don't know what that means yet either, but you will. For now, you lean back against a warm stone, feeling the buzz of the beer, the joy of the naming, and yes, the faint guilt of accidental beetle squashing. Above you, the sky begins to darken once more. The stars return, and the name Andaliko dances on the breeze, already becoming myth. Night again. You've stopped trying to count them. They blend into each other like layers of ink on woven cloth, thin in some places, darker in others, but always overlapping. Another soft dusk has fallen over the rice paddies, and the whole village is moving with an almost conspiratorial energy. They're making floating lamps. At first, you don't realize what's happening. You're sitting near a shallow canal that snakes along the edge of the main rice plots, listening to the rhythmic clatter of cooking pots being scrubbed clean with sand. Someone hands you a folded palm leaf with a tiny lump of beeswax stuck inside. Then another person passes you a wick, rolled tight from banana fibre. A third hands you a pinch of dried marigold petals. You blink at your new arts and crafts assignment. "They keep the bad luck away," says the woman beside you, as she tucks petals around her wick like it's the most delicate job in the world. "And they show the rice spirit we still care after sunset." The idea is simple. Each person makes one floating lamp, a folded leaf, a drop of wax, a small flame. You set it on the canal and watch it drift away, taking whatever sadness or illness or lingering misfortune you forgot to leave behind at the altar. It's like a cleansing, but prettier. The canal winds gently down through the paddies, catching bits of moonlight and mirroring the flicker of torches from the edge of the fields. One by one, villagers place their finished lamps on the water. Some push them gently with sticks. Others just whisper to them and let them go. Your first attempt sinks. Everyone sees. You hear a few chuckles. A child kindly hands you a fresh leaf. Try again. This one floats, not far, but far enough. The flame flickers, leans left, then steadies. You watch it wobble past a clump of reeds, then catch a sudden little breeze and scoot off like it's got somewhere to be. A man nearby sighs happily. "That one's got feet." You smile. Soon the canal is full of glowing dots, each one bobbing gently through the dark, like a string of drifting fireflies tied together by silence and moonlight. From a distance, it almost looks like the stars have fallen into the water to nap. It's beautiful, peaceful, and for a moment, strangely sad. You ask why the lamps float alone. A woman replies, "Because some things must leave without being chased." That sticks with you. Not far from the canal, another fire is starting. Not a cooking fire this time, but a story fire. People gather in a half circle as an old woman, short, barefoot, her earlobes stretched by thin rings of bone, steps forward and begins a tale. She doesn't ask for quiet, she just starts talking. It's the story of the drowned seed. It goes like this. Long ago, a farmer named Taviso forgot to bless his rice field. He was young, too proud, thought he didn't need spirits or songs. He planted quickly without waiting, and when the rains came, they didn't stop. For 7 days the water rose, the fields turned to lakes. Every seed he'd planted disappeared. The rice drowned. Devastated, Taviso wandered into the forest to ask the trees what to do. The trees didn't speak, but a bird did, a tiny black and white bird with no name. "Sing to the seed," it said. "It only floats if it remembers." Taviso returned, found one surviving seed stuck in the thatch of his roof, and sang to it all night, every song he knew. In the morning it had sprouted, and that's why, to this day, villagers sing to the seed before they plant it, so it remembers to rise, not sink. Is it true? Doesn't matter. The woman finishes her story, and everyone claps, not loudly, but with small, gentle applause that sounds like raindrops on a bamboo roof. Someone offers her a piece of dried fruit. She takes it with a grin full of gaps. Not far off, a baby cries. A dog barks once and then decides against it. The floating lamps are still visible, just faint dots now, like they've floated into another world entirely. Back at the canal, someone begins to hum. A woman, maybe 30, with gold-painted nails and a shawl patterned in star shapes. She hums a low, slow melody that rises and falls like breathing. It doesn't have words, but you understand it. It says, "Let the bad luck drift. Let the seeds sleep easy. Let tomorrow come slower than today." The hum spreads, others join in, and then the fire is dimmed, not put out, just muffled under a light cover of ash and leaf, not gone, just resting. The ritual's not over, of course. There are still names to be whispered, still zebu horns to paint, still rice to plant with one thumb, one breath, and one memory at a time. But for now, you're told to rest, not because the work is done, because the work is sacred, and sacred things need space. You lie back, the soft crunch of dry grass beneath you, the scent of burnt banana leaf still clinging to your sleeves. Above you, the sky is velvet and wide. One of the floating lamps winks at you from far down the canal. Or maybe it's just the wind. Either way, you feel lighter. You wake before the light does. Not because someone calls you, not because of a noise, you simply stir, as if something ancient and invisible tapped you gently on the shoulder and whispered, "It's time." The air is cool and still, laced with the faintest traces of wood smoke, crushed herbs, and the metallic tang of damp soil. You sit up slowly, rubbing the sleep from your eyes, and realize the village is already alive again, but softly. No drums yet, no shouting, just movement. Shadows drifting from hut to field, silhouettes balancing baskets on hips and shoulders. There's a whisper to everything, like the whole community has agreed not to wake the morning too quickly. You wander toward the paddies, still slick with dew. The mist is low and heavy today, pressing close to the earth like it's trying to listen. Birds hop silently in the reeds. Frogs, for once, keep their opinions to themselves. Someone hands you a warm cloth. You accept it without question, dabbing your forehead, your palms, your chest. It's soaked in something sweet and sharp. Ginger, maybe, or rice vinegar. "To cleanse," the woman murmurs, "before we call the moon." You nod, naturally. The moon needs a clean audience. At the far end of the paddies, a group is gathering. They carry mirrors, small, round, and worn at the edges. Some are made of polished copper, others just old glass backed with foil. None of them are perfect, that's the point. They're here to witness the moon's shadow. You join them, standing in loose formation as the sun begins to rise behind the hills. But the focus isn't the sun, it's the water. This particular paddy is special, wider, stiller. A surface as smooth as sleep. Everyone faces it. And waits you don't understand at first. You think surely they're waiting for moonrise, or perhaps some kind of eclipse, but no. What they wait for is a reflection, not of the current moon, but of the last one. You squint, nothing. Then maybe a faint, pale circle, far fainter than the real moon, hanging just beneath the surface of the paddy, shimmering, almost hesitant. A child whispers, "There it is," and the murmuring begins, not loud, not demanding, just a soft ripple of shared phrases, half song, half memory. "Moon of the waiting stalks," moon that watched the water run backward, moon that never left the sky. These aren't poems, they're names, names of previous moons, each one remembered by its behavior. Some moons bring floods, some bring perfect dryness, some disappear behind cloud for an entire cycle, and some appear twice. That last one, still debated. Historians argue whether this ritual, watching for the moon's shadow, originated from navigational practices or purely from agricultural myth. Some say it was used to time second harvests. Others believe it began with seafarers lost at night who read moonlight on waves like scripture. Whatever its source, it's beautiful and strange and just a little unnerving. Because what if the reflection doesn't appear? What if the moon forgets? You glance sideways. Everyone else seems content. No panic, no urgency. Just quiet reverence for a ghost in the water. Someone sets down a small offering at the edge of the paddy, a few grains of uncooked rice, a strip of bark, and a shard of mirror tied with raffia. It's said that if your mirror cracks during this ritual, the rice will grow crooked. If it sinks, you must not plant again that season. Yours fogs over slightly but stays whole. You breathe a tiny sigh of relief, which earns a chuckle from an older man behind you. "Even the sky tests us," he says. especially when it likes us. No idea what that means, but you nod anyway. As the mist begins to lift, the ritual concludes. People rise, stretch, and head back toward the village. Some leave their mirrors behind, stuck gently in the mud as small totems. Others tuck them away like precious currency. You stay behind just a little longer, watching the moon shadow fade. And for a second, just one, you swear you see a second reflection beside it, but it vanishes, probably a duck. You start walking, barefoot and slow, toward the scent of incense. 2 trails of smoke now curl from opposite sides of the village, one from the elder hut, one from the new granary. Each stream rises with its own rhythm. One spiral is thick and slow, the other thin and restless. You ask why. A woman nearby, placing coals beneath a clay pot, replies, "One is for the living, one is for the dead." You wait. And the rice lives between. That gives you more questions than answers, but she's already stirring something that smells like lemongrass and pepper, and you don't press further. The incense for the living is made of dried tamarind leaves, rice husk, and crushed orange peel. The smoke is grounding, heavy. It curls around ankles and wrists like invisible bracelets. The incense for the dead is lighter, pine, wormwood, and dried river moss. It rises fast, escaping as if impatient to be noticed. It's meant to reach ancestors wherever they've gone. Some say heaven, some say stars, some say the far side of the rice fields. Both are lit at the same time, always. Because no harvest belongs to just one world. You sit near the center of the village, watching both plumes spiral skyward, and you feel it again. That strange sensation of being between things. Between earth and air. Between the crop and the plate. Between what you understand and what you're only starting to feel. Someone hands you a bowl of warm rice milk. Thick, sweet, slightly spicy. It tastes like memory, or maybe just comfort. And as you sip, you realize you're starting to think like a rice farmer, one who names moons, one who apologizes to beetles, one who listens to reflections in water. And honestly, it suits you. Afternoon drifts in without making a sound. You barely notice it arriving, just a soft change in the light, a slight thickening of the air, and the realization that your clothes are sticking ever so gently to your back. The heat has returned, not sharply, but with that slow, steady insistence of a summer nap you didn't ask for. But no one in the village stops moving. Today is important. Today they will crown the Rice King. You're not entirely sure what that means at first. There is no throne, no trumpets, no shouting herald riding in on a decorated zebu. In fact, when the ritual begins, the chosen man is still asleep in a hammock strung between 2 palm trunks. A child pokes him with a stick. He grunts, rolls over, and blinks up at the gathering crowd. And just like that, it begins. The Rice King is a temporary title, one day only, chosen not for his wisdom, his strength, or his standing in the village, but for something much more profound. He hasn't spilled rice all week. That's right. Apparently the villagers have been watching, silently, closely. And this man, barefoot, a bit pudgy, missing a front tooth, has managed somehow not to drop a single grain during all the rituals. A feat of staggering focus or dumb luck. Either way, he's the king now. He accepts the honor with a sleepy shrug and a grin, and someone immediately places a crown of rice stalks on his head. It's not particularly regal, more like a tangled hat made by someone halfway through a picnic nap. But he wears it proudly, and then they bring out the frogs, 12 of them, tied together, not cruelly, just loosely, with raffia string that links one leg of each frog into a slightly wobbly circle. They've been painted, not fully, just tiny dots of harmless vegetable dye on their backs, red, yellow, green. One has a star. The villagers cheer, because tradition demands that the Rice King must parade with the circle of frogs. You follow him as he steps carefully through the village, the frogs hopping beside him like a confused marching band. Children giggle. Elders nod in approval. A woman tosses rice flakes in his path, which he promptly slips on and nearly falls. Everyone gasps, then laughs. But the frogs? Perfect rhythm. This ritual is meant to bring abundance. Frogs are sacred here, symbols of rain, fertility, transformation. Each frog represents one of the 12 ancestral spirits said to dwell in the rice fields. The circle they form, that's the cycle of planting, growth, and return. Of course, there's also a less mystical explanation. Frogs eat bugs, bugs eat rice. Frogs, it's good. End of story. Still, the villagers treat this with reverence and joy. When the Rice King passes the central paddy, he pauses to speak one sentence into the wind. Grow slow, bend full, taste sweet. And then the frogs are released. They scatter instantly into the water, the reeds, someone's basket of sweet yams. One child shrieks with delight and runs after them. The ritual is complete. You're handed a small rice cake shaped like a frog. You eat it, of course. It's chewy and slightly spicy. Tastes a little like hope. After the frog parade, the energy in the village softens again. People rest. They hum. They sweep dust from porches with brooms made of bundled reeds. The Rice King is given a stool and a fan and promptly falls asleep again. But not you, because now something else is happening. A figure approaches from beyond the paddies, wrapped in 6 scarves, each one a different colour of the sunset. It's the sorceress. Well, that's what they call her. She's not scary. In fact, she's smiling. But there's something about her presence that makes the birds fall silent. The dogs stop scratching. Even the Rice King, mid-snore, suddenly sits up and nods. She walks with a cane made from sugar cane. She wears no shoes. Her fingers are stained dark from herbs and ink, and she carries a small basket filled with stones, feathers, dried roots, and riddles. Yes, riddles. She comes each year not to cast spells, but to offer 3 questions. Anyone who answers all 3 earns a blessing. Anyone who fails must perform a task before the next moonrise. You watch as she approaches the central altar, sits cross-legged, and begins to chant. Her voice is soft, melodic, almost sing-song. She pulls the first riddle from her basket. I am eaten before I'm born, and drunk before I'm poured. What am I? Murmurs ripple through the crowd. You think hard. Then a child pipes up. Eat the rice milk. The sorceress pauses, then nods. The crowd claps. Second riddle. I grow in silence, die in water, and dance when forgotten. This one is harder. People whisper. You frown. An elder finally raises her hand and says, Ash. The sorceress beams. Yes. Third riddle. I belong to everyone but can never be shared. If spoken, I disappear. You feel it before you say it. A secret. She turns toward you, smiles wider. Then she walks to your side, pulls a small bundle from her basket, and hands it to you. Inside, a single grain of rice carved with tiny symbols. You can't read them, no one can, but they say it brings dreams without confusion. That's good enough. Later, as dusk creeps back across the hills, the sorceress disappears the way she came. No goodbye, no spectacle. Just a soft swirl of colour vanishing into tall grass. You sit by the paddy again, holding the carved grain. It glows faintly in the fading light. And you realise something. This isn't just a ritual, it's a rhythm, a lullaby written in soil, a story that plants you as much as you plant it. You don't know what tomorrow holds, maybe more frogs, maybe more riddles, but for tonight, you rest. With rice on your tongue, riddles in your pocket, and a crown, imaginary maybe, gently settling on your head, you wake to the smell of hair. Not the burning kind, don't panic. More like the faint, earthy scent of old braids soaked in herbs and left in the sun. It drifts through the morning air like a secret someone forgot to whisper properly. You sit up and catch sight of her, the woman who tends the granaries. She moves slowly, deliberately, with the same energy as a librarian shelving the most dangerous book in the collection. Every gesture is quiet, but packed with centuries. In one hand, she carries a bundle of dried rice stalks. In the other, her own hair. Not all of it, of course. Just a single braid, long and dark, wrapped in string made from plant fibre. She stands in front of the granary's thick wooden door and does something you absolutely weren't expecting. She presses the braid into the doorframe, firmly, like she's unlocking something. And for a moment, just a moment, the wind stills. You're told this is how they lock the rice. With hair. It's not symbolic. It's not metaphor. It's literal. The granary won't be opened again until harvest ends. And only the braid that sealed it can undo the lock. You watch as another woman approaches, holding her own braid, thinner, streaked with grey. She does the same. One by one, the elders come forward, each offering a part of themselves to the wood. Some use clippings tucked into small bundles. Others offer bits of fabric, strands of thread woven with hair. You ask why. Someone replies, because the rice remembers who fed it. That's the kind of sentence you can't argue with. Historians don't quite agree on where this tradition began. Some think it's connected to early taboos around bodily relics, hair, nails, teeth, used to mark sacred territory. Others think it's a security system, spiritual and practical. Granaries are precious. Hair ties the contents to a person. You steal from the rice, you steal from their body. Simple, brutal, effective. You circle the granary, noticing how each wooden plank is marked with chalky white symbols, some angular, some looping like vines. It's said these markings confuse jealous spirits who can't read in straight lines. And then the knocking begins, gentle, rhythmic knocking on the granary wall. One knock, pause. 3 knocks, pause. 2 more, it's a code, but no one explains what it means. The villagers say the rice inside listens. If you don't knock with the correct pattern, it spoils faster. You knock gently, unsure of the rhythm. Someone laughs behind you and says, "It's okay, the rice knows you're new." Later, when the last braid is pressed into the door, someone seals it all with a small patch of clay and a single white flower. It's done. The rice is safe. And with that, the final harvest preparations can begin. You find yourself back in the fields again. But this time, something is different. There are torches, not many, just a handful, held by women in long blue robes, spaced evenly around the paddies. They don't move. They just stand, holding the flame steady as dusk pours over the hills like soft ink. You walk along the edge of the paddy, feeling the cool water lap at your ankles. The air is thick with anticipation, and somewhere a drum taps softly, once every 10 seconds, just enough to keep time from floating away entirely. Tonight is the quiet harvest. No songs, no chants, no speeches, just the first ceremonial cutting, one stalk at a time. You kneel with the others, your knees sinking into wet soil, your fingers brushing the stiff, ripe heads of rice. The elder leads the way, using a short blade carved from horn, polished smooth from years of ritual. He cuts the first stalk, holds it high, then places it in a basket lined with banana leaf. And no one claps, no one nods, everyone simply breathes. You join in, cutting slowly, carefully, listening to the tiny snick each blade makes as it parts the stem. The scent of crushed green rice is sharp and nostalgic, even if you've never smelled it before. One old man mutters to his field partner, "The first stalk always weeps a little." You glance at yours. And yes, there's a single drop of water clinging to the severed stem. Whether it's dew or something else, you don't ask. You harvest until your basket holds exactly 7 stalks. 7 is sacred. 1 for the soil, 1 for the sun, 1 for the water, 1 for the wind, 1 for the ancestors, 1 for the future, and 1 for the unknown. Your hands are sticky with plant sap. Your back aches. But something inside you settles, like tea leaves sinking to the bottom of a calm cup. Back at the village, a fire crackles low, sending shadows dancing up the side of the altar hut. A woman passes by, humming under her breath, carrying a clay jar of rice beer. You decline this time. Your head is full enough already. The stars blink back into view, the frogs return to their nighttime song. And someone begins gently brushing dust from the carved stones at the foot of the granary. No one asked her to. She just does it. Because when the first stalks are cut, everything deserves to be clean again. You lie down in the grass, the scent of warm smoke and wild ginger curling into your nose, and you think of the braid, the knock, the soft sound of rice separating from its stem. This harvest isn't just survival, it's ceremony, a whispered thank you to everything that didn't go wrong. You dream of rice, not metaphorically, not symbolically, just rice. Rows and rows of it stretching endlessly, but not in fields, in the sky, in your hands, in your shoes somehow. The grains are warm and glowing and they hum when you try to speak. You wake with one stuck to your cheek. It takes a moment to remember where you are, a second longer to realize the feast has already begun without you. You're late, and no one minds. You rise, slowly, brushing your shirt, shaking off the dream, and follow the distant scent of smoke, salt, and sweetness. The sky is bright now, morning has fully arrived, and the village is alive with clatter and chatter. There's music, there's laughter, there's a child walking around with a bowl of peanuts so big you wonder how he's managing not to fall in. The final feast of the rice ritual is a grand, beautiful, gloriously chaotic thing. But here's the twist. You almost miss it. Not because you overslept, okay, yes, that, but because it doesn't happen in one place. It wanders. It begins in the eastern field, roasted sweet rice cakes served on banana leaves, then drifts toward the well, where sticky green rice balls float in a broth of tamarind and honey. From there, the scent trail leads you past the granary, still sealed, still silent, toward the dancing hill, where smoky greens and fermented cow's milk stew await. Yes, you read that right. It's a stew. It's made from slightly aged cow's milk. It smells adventurous. You try a spoonful, and against all odds, it's amazing. It's like yogurt met cheddar on a camping trip and invited roasted garlic to join them. You take another bite, and another. Someone notices. You're handed a second bowl. You don't protest. You're not alone in your enthusiasm. Elders debate the flavor. Children ask for seconds. A woman near the fire swears her version includes tamarind, and no one believes her until she brings out a secret jar and pours a dab into someone's hand. It is, in every sense of the word, delicious chaos. You drift from dish to dish, trying a little of everything. Peanut and chili paste wrapped in sweet cassava skin, dried anchovies toasted with sugarcane vinegar, rice noodles fried in clay pans with onion and citrus zest, lemongrass tea steeped with wild mint, and a whisper of smoke. The food doesn't overwhelm. It settles. Like all good feasts should, people eat slowly, purposefully. One eye always on the others. Every few bites, someone offers something from their plate. It's expected. If your bowl is full and someone else's is not, you share, because the rice notices and the rice remembers. You take a sip of fermented rice water from a gourd ladle and feel it hum in your chest. Not alcoholic, not sweet, just alive, like a river that forgot it wasn't supposed to speak. As the sun climbs toward noon, the crowd begins to shift again. This time, not toward another dish, but toward the hill. You follow the gentle stampede of full-bellied villagers up a small rise just north of the paddies, where flat stones have been laid in a wide ring. This is where the dancing happens, and oh, the dancing! It doesn't start all at once, it blooms. One person begins with a slow sway, another claps twice and spins, a third lifts a handful of rice and scatters it into the wind. The music starts low, a thrum of drums, a hum of stringed lyres made from tortoise shells and braided gut. And suddenly it spreads. Dozens of people, all ages, dancing, some in pairs, some in clusters, some just moving in their own rhythm, eyes closed, hands open. It's not elegant, it's not choreographed, but it's full of joy. You're pulled in before you can protest. A child grabs your hand, spins you, you stumble, recover. Someone cheers. You try again, and this time you lean into it. The earth beneath your feet is soft and dry. Your shoulders loosen, your arms move like seaweed. A woman twirls past you, laughing, her scarf fluttering like a bird's wing. You laugh too, and you don't stop for a long time. The dancing goes on until the sky blushes. That's how they describe sunset here, not as falling darkness, but as the sky growing shy. Pink and gold spill over the fields, lighting every grain of rice still clinging to its stalk with the kind of glow usually reserved for stained glass windows. You collapse on the grass, lungs full, sweat drying cool on your arms. Someone fans you with a woven mat. Another places a cup of rice milk near your hand. There's music still, softer now, almost drowsy. And in that perfect moment, your head on your makeshift pillow, your belly full, your heart strange and happy, someone hands you a flower, a mango flower, small, yellow, fragrant in a way that makes you feel nostalgic for something you've never quite lived. You ask what it means. The man grins. You survived the feast. You clutch it like a medal. The sun slips behind the far ridge. A hush begins to fall. Torches are lit again. The fireflies return. You close your eyes. And the last thing you hear before drifting off is the sound of laughter, slow and low, like water sliding over stone. You don't dream this time. Or maybe you do, but the dream is so gentle, so weightless, it folds into the night like breath into fog. You wake slowly, with a soft ache in your legs, a crust of rice still on your shirt, and a faint scent of mango flower near your ear. It's still dark. But not the deep, inky kind of midnight. No, this is the soft before-dawn darkness, where everything feels made of velvet and quiet promises. The fires have burned low. The frogs have grown sleepy. Even the moon seems to be pulling a blanket over its head. And yet the village stirs. Not loudly, not all at once, but with quiet purpose. Because this morning is the final breath of the ritual. The goodbye, one last bowl, one last word, and one last whisper to the ancestors. You follow the others to the same raised altar space where it all began days ago. The mist has returned, curling low across the paddies like a careful hand. You walk through it barefoot, feeling the cool dampness between your toes and the strange relief of being part of something circular. Everyone carries something, a bowl of rice, a braid of dry grass, a candle stub, a slip of paper with charcoal marks. You? You're holding the mango flower. No one questions it. At the altar, the villagers kneel, slowly, as if weight has returned to their bodies, as if they've remembered gravity again after days of floating through the ritual. One by one, they step forward and place their offering. The rice is scattered, the paper is folded into the earth. A woman presses her braid into a groove in the altar stone, then pats it, twice, but no one speaks aloud, not this time. This is the whisper round. You watch carefully. The old man with the frog hat leans close to the stone and murmurs something into a hollow carved near the base. A young girl touches the altar and mouths a few words, her eyes squeezed shut. Even the village dog, for reasons no one explains, places a stick at the altar and lies down facing east. The idea is simple. The ancestors don't need loud praise. They've heard enough drums. What they want now is softness, secrets, gratitude. You approach, heart thumping just a little louder than you'd like, and lean close to the altar. You whisper, "Thanks for letting me stay." The stone is cool. It smells faintly of lichen and rice paste. You step back. A wind rises. It's small, nothing dramatic, just a gentle ripple across the fields, but everyone feels it. Heads lift, scarves flutter. Somewhere a bamboo chime tinks softly against a tree branch. The whisper has been received, and now it is done. Or nearly. There's a small procession down the hill now. Quiet again. The baskets are empty. The frogs are long gone. Even the drums remain still, as if resting in someone's lap, too sleepy to sing. But the rice is full. The fields glisten. The stalks are bowing. The granary, locked with hair and memory, waits in silence. This is the pause before harvest begins in earnest. The rituals have opened the gates, blessed the seeds, honored the dead, and tested the living. Now comes the real work. But first, dreams. Yes, even now, after all the cooking, dancing, whispering, singing, beetle stomping, and fermented rice sipping, there is one last ceremony, the dream rest. You didn't read about this in any book. You won't find it on a tourist brochure. No anthropologist ever got close enough to see it without being gently handed a cup of toka and ushered back to their tent. It's private. It happens on mats, under trees, alone, or beside someone trusted. Each villager lies down with one final offering in their palm, a carved grain of rice, a braid, a petal, a scent, a name. They close their eyes and ask for a dream, not for prophecy, not for visions, just for a message, a feeling, a memory, something to carry into the season ahead. You lie down beside the field. The earth beneath you is warm, soft with moss, still holding the weight of ceremonies gone by. In your hand, the mango flower. You close your eyes. And the wind carries the same names it has always carried. Names of rice, names of moonlight, names of frogs and salt and braided doors, names of ancestors who never left. And just before sleep catches you completely. Do you hear it? A soft, almost joking voice, familiar and impossible. It says, "Next time, don't step on the beetle." The morning arrives slowly, like someone tiptoeing into a room already filled with sleepers. A rooster crows, but just once, and then seems to think better of it. The wind stretches through the banana trees, swaying their broad leaves with the gentlest shushing sound, as if encouraging everyone to take 5 more minutes. You do. When you finally sit up, the mango flower is still in your hand. A little crumpled, a little damp with dew, but intact. Around you, the village is rising, not with urgency, but with steady motion. You hear the unmistakable rhythm of footsteps in the grass, pots being scrubbed clean with sand and ash, a low voice singing an old tune about rice that steals your shoes if you insult it. Normal things, you join them, but now everything feels different, because now the ritual is over, and the season begins. The baskets are out again, not the ones for offerings or frogs, but the long, sturdy ones woven for work. They smell of dry palm fibre and damp storage. People carry them like shields, like promises. You walk with a group to the far paddies, the ones past the irrigation ditch with the broken bamboo bridge that someone finally fixed with an old fishing net and an alarming amount of chewing gum. It's time to harvest, but not all at once, not yet. This morning is for the soft handfuls. The tradition is simple. The first cuts of the post-ritual harvest must be done by hand, stalk by stalk. No sickles, no shortcuts, no sharp tools. Just a thumb, a forefinger, and patience. You kneel with the others. The rice is ready, heads golden, stems bending like they're already bowing in thanks. You reach in, careful not to crush, and pluck your first stalk. It resists. Of course it does. You try again, slower this time, and feel it yield, softly, almost politely. You lay it in the basket, one down, about 300,000 to go, but no one's counting. Next to you, a woman hums a tune with no words. It loops and loops, a lullaby for the grains. Each pluck is timed with her breath, a rhythm, comfort. You fall into it too. Somewhere nearby, a child giggles. You glance over. He's holding a rice stalk upside down and pretending it's a wizard's wand. He waves it at a puddle and yells, "Turn into cake!" It doesn't. But the water does ripple, which is close enough for a 5-year-old sorcerer. A few feet away, an elder crouches low, speaking softly to the ground as he pulls each stalk. You don't hear every word, but one line floats over the breeze. This year I ask for enough. Not too much, just enough. You nod. You don't know who he's speaking to, but it feels right. There's a kind of quiet euphoria in the task. The sun warms your shoulders, the stalks whisper against each other, the earth is soft and cool beneath your knees. And then you hear a sound that almost makes you laugh out loud. A beetle. It buzzes past your ear like a tiny drone with too much attitude, lands on your wrist, looks at you, judging. You sigh, you whisper, "Sorry again." It stays for a moment, then lifts off and vanishes into the stalks, peace restored. By midday, your basket is half full. Your back aches, your hands are sticky with sap and dirt. You've somehow managed to get a small scratch on your cheek from an overexcited stalk. And still, you feel good, really good. Someone nearby starts singing a song that's just a list of things rice has been blamed for over the years. Floods, stomach aches, babies, born early, sneezing goats. The time the chief forgot his own name. It's ridiculous and perfect. You sing along, at least the parts you can remember. Lunch arrives in the form of wrapped bundles passed hand to hand, sticky rice mixed with bits of smoked fish and pickled greens. You eat with your fingers like everyone else. The rice tastes like fire and salt and something oddly sweet, maybe tamarind, maybe sugarcane, maybe just gratitude. You lie back in the shade of a banana tree, watching clouds drift slowly across the sky like lazy turtles. A woman nearby fans herself with a tray and mutters, "This is the only part of harvest I like," when the rice lets you rest. You nod. "Do you ever get tired of it?" She pauses. "Yes. But then I remember what happens when it's gone." You don't ask what she means, because you already know. After the break, you rise again, this time with renewed purpose. You return to the field. Continue the slow, sacred work. And when your basket is finally full, truly full, you carry it back to the village with arms that feel like lead and a heart that feels like light. At the edge of the field, someone hands you a carved wooden token. A small square with a sun on one side and a grain on the other. "First-timer's charm," they say. "Now you've really done it." You hold it tight. You've done it. You've planted with intention, whispered to stones, named a spirit, stepped on a beetle, crowned a king. Watched a moon in the water and harvested rice with the slowest, softest hands you've ever known. You look back at the paddies, glowing, waving, waiting, and you smile, because you know this isn't the end, it's the return. The evening sneaks in sideways. You don't notice it at first, not because it's hiding, but because it's quiet. So quiet it feels like a deep exhale from the land itself, the kind of stillness that comes not after silence, but after satisfaction. The paddies are still wet. The air smells like rice sap and wood smoke and someone frying plantains somewhere nearby. You've never been so tired or so content from doing so little that somehow meant so much. Tonight, the village shifts into its gentlest rhythm yet, the circle of remembrance. You walk slowly toward the central clearing. No drums, no dancing, just torches sunk into the earth and a wide space in the grass where no one speaks above a murmur. The village forms a circle, not tight, not exact, more like a ripple. Elders settle into their usual spots first. The middle-aged folks hang near the edge, half sitting, half standing. The children wander between them, plopping into laps, trading stones, sneaking sips of juice from shared gourds. At the centre, a single flame in a carved gourd, no bigger than a candle. Tonight's not about performance, it's about telling. Not stories, exactly, not myths. Just the remembering kind. A man with tired eyes and strong hands begins. He talks about the flood of '68, how the rice nearly drowned, how they carried seedlings on their heads through waist-deep water. His voice cracks on the part about his uncle's canoe breaking and the seeds floating away. "We planted anyway," he says, "and it came back." A woman follows. Her tale is quieter, stranger. About the season the frogs never sang and how the rice grew tall, but tasted wrong. "It looked beautiful," she says, "but it was lonely. Even the crows didn't come." A young boy stands up, too shy to speak. Instead, he places a tiny frog-shaped pebble in the circle and sits back down. No one asks for more. Each person adds something, a word, a gesture, a relic. One woman lights a match and drops it into a bowl of wet leaves, creating a hiss no one explains. A man hums 3 notes and stops. A child brings a beetle shell and says, "I found this in my pocket." Everyone nods solemnly. You ask someone quietly, "What's the purpose of this part?" They reply, "To remember what the rice remembers and to forget what it forgets." Helpful. You don't have anything prepared, but you feel drawn to the circle anyway. So you walk to the edge, kneel, and do something simple. You take the mango flower from your pocket, yes, you still have it, and place it gently on the grass. Then you whisper, "Thank you for making me slow down." That's all. You return to your seat. No applause, no reaction. Just a slight breeze that touches your cheek like a grandmother's hand. After a while, the circle breaks gently, like ice melting. People drift back toward their homes, their mats, their corners of the night. Some stop to share a quiet laugh. Others carry their offerings to the altar and leave them without a word. But you're invited to join a smaller group. They lead you to a place beyond the edge of the village, past the last cooking fire, past the sleepy zebu pen, and up a narrow trail lined with flat stones. At the top is a lookout point, a ledge, a platform made of weathered wood and woven reeds overlooking all the paddies below. From here, you see everything. The fields glowing under moonlight like mirrors for ghosts, the granary sealed tight and dignified, the rows of houses curled around each other like spoons in a drawer, the river dark and winding, humming somewhere out of sight. And the rice, always the rice. The group sits in a loose circle again, not for ritual, not for food, but for songs. The first voice is high and soft, a lullaby maybe, about a woman who fell in love with the wind and waited in a tree for 12 years. Another voice joins in, deeper, slower, adding harmony. A third adds a counter-melody, playful, teasing, like a frog leaping between reeds. You don't know the words, but you know the rhythm. You hum. The songs drift from one to another with no introductions, no endings. They just flow, like canals connecting paddies. No one applauds. No one interrupts. And then someone sings a line that stops you. That stops you cold. If you dream of rice, you've come home too soon. You don't know what it means, but it means something. You lean back, resting on your elbows, gazing up at the sky. The stars here are not city stars. They're full-throated, uninhibited, practically arrogant with their brightness. The moon hangs low, round and honest. Someone offers you a gourd of warm rice tea. You sip. It tastes of cinnamon and wood smoke and thyme. And you think, this is what the rice was growing toward all along. Not just meals, not just rituals, but this moment of stillness, of singing, of remembering, of being here. You lie back on the platform, arms behind your head, eyes heavy. Below, the rice fields sigh. Above, the stars listen, and beside you, someone begins a new song. The rice grows slow, but the dream is quick. The sky turns red, then turns back thick. If you find a grain that whispers true, plant it, child. It's meant for you. You close your eyes, and sleep finds you, gentle and full. You wake to the sound of wind through feathers. Not wings, not the flapping kind, but something lighter, softer, like the sky itself is combing its fingers through an old, forgotten pillow. You open your eyes slowly. The wooden platform beneath you creaks gently. Morning has only just begun to stretch across the horizon, its colours delicate, lavender, pale gold, and the faintest blush of rose. The others around you are still asleep. One person hums faintly in their dreams, another snores in slow rhythm with the breeze, and overhead, hanging from a bent bamboo pole, sways a fan of bird feathers tied with string. A wind charm. You sit up and watch it move. You're told these charms are hung only once a year, on the morning after the last rice ritual song. Made from feathers of birds that nest near the fields, tied with rice stalks and strips of cloth that have touched the granary, they're meant to catch the voices of spirits returning home. Spirits don't walk, a woman once told you. They drift, and the feathers help them find the way. You rise and stretch, muscles aching in places you didn't know rice rituals could reach. As you step down from the platform, a soft, clinking sound catches your attention. You turn. A man, probably younger than you by a decade but somehow looking much older, sits by a flat stone with a bowl full of rice tokens, small carvings, dried petals, knotted strings and bits of polished shell. He stirs them gently, like someone mixing tea leaves. He nods at you. Pick one. You hesitate. Why? Because you don't leave without a token. It's the rule. He grins. You grin back. You reach in. Let your fingers sift through the warm, familiar clatter. Your hand closes around something cool and smooth. You pull it out. A tiny disc carved from rice hull and resin with a single dot in the center. That's a good one, he says. Means you came open and you'll leave full. You pocket it. As you walk back into the heart of the village, everything is quiet work. No ritual now, no incense, just the rustle of mats being shaken out, pots being scrubbed clean, the distant clack of someone grinding grain for the first non-ceremonial meal in days. You pass the granary, still sealed, but you notice something new. Someone has tucked a tiny reed flute under the doorframe, wrapped in hair and bound with rice string. Another lock? You ask. No, someone replies. A lullaby, so it doesn't wake too early. You smile. Someone else is polishing a stone at the edge of the field, the kind that marks harvests, etched with the names of rice spirits gone by. You crouch beside it, tracing the faded symbols. Manoro, Tefilo, Sambara, Andaliko, your rice spirit's name. The one whispered by a child. The one you carried through frogs and chilly omens and floating lamps. You wonder what next year's spirit will be called. You wonder if the rice already knows. You return to your hut, yes, your hut, the one you've slept in for days now with the slanted roof and the door that sticks slightly. Inside, your sandals are full of dust, your shirt smells like lemongrass smoke, and your pillow is still faintly damp from last night's dew. You sit down, exhale, and notice something. Someone has left a small bundle at your door, wrapped in banana leaf, tied with raffia string, and topped with a petal from the mango flower you left behind. You open it. Inside, a pinch of dried rice stalk, a small folded note, and a single, round, white seed. The note reads, "When you're hungry, eat it. When you're full, plant it. When you're lost, hold it. And if you forget, it will remember for you." No signature. You close it carefully, tuck it into your bag, and sit a little longer. Just outside, the world stirs. A woman sings softly while mending a net. A child recites something over and over to remember it. A dog barks, then immediately regrets the effort. Normal is returning, but a very new kind of normal. The ritual is over, but you are not the same. Someone calls your name, well, not your real name, but the nickname they gave you on day 2, the one that means beetle friend. You answer without thinking. You step outside. And though nothing is waiting for you, everything feels like invitation. The wind, the stalks, the scent of ash and rain and fruit, the thrum of a slow, familiar drumbeat. Only this time, it's your own pulse. And you understand something you didn't before. The rice doesn't just grow in the soil. It grows in you. You spend the morning doing nothing. Not the lazy kind of nothing. Not the clock-watching, thumb-scrolling, anxious idleness you might know from the city. This is a different nothing, a full nothing, a sacred, intentional pause that the villagers refer to as Mipitraha Aminani Rivotra. Sit with the wind. It's the day after everything, and that means the only thing you're expected to do is exist. You sit near the edge of the field where the frogs used to sing. The rice stalks move slowly, each gust of wind bending them in a perfect, silent dance. You notice they sway in groups, never alone. They lean into each other like old friends sharing gossip. You lean too and you listen. Somewhere behind you, someone plays a bamboo flute, a lazy, lilting melody like a river trying to remember a song it heard in childhood. A second flute joins in, lower, slower. The notes weave together like threads in a basket, loose but strong. You lie back, eyes closed, hands on your stomach, and let the sun warm your eyelids. This is the part no one writes about, the part after the ritual, when all the offerings are done, when the last stalk has been cut, when the frogs are free, when the spirits are satisfied, when the granary is full, and the stomach mostly too. And still the villagers stay, still they sit. Still they breathe together, work together, rest together, and they do something that might surprise you. They laugh, quietly at first, but soon they gather in twos and threes, sitting on the hard-packed earth, swapping stories not of gods or rice spirits, but of each other. The time someone fell into the canal because they thought a reflection was a fish. The year someone brewed the millet beer too strong and ended up blessing the wrong granary. The dance that ended in a chicken coop. The child who named the rice spirit Mr. Banana and refused to take it back. You laugh with them. Someone brings you a cup of roasted corn tea, nutty, sweet, slightly smoky. Someone else braids a tiny length of rice stalk and tucks it behind your ear without asking. You let it stay. Because on this day, the day of the still wind, everything is welcome. You think of the days before, the first furrow drawn in the misty dark, the ash water and sticky grains, the circle of frogs, the painted horns by ancestral stones, the rice name whispered by a child, the chili that refused to sink, the moon that cast a reflection only you believed, the beardy sorceress and her riddles, the beetle you stepped on, the mango flower, the last stalk, and you realize you've memorized it, not on purpose, not with effort, just by being here, because that's what the ritual is designed to do, to sink into you slow and deep, like water into cracked clay, and when the water's gone, what's left isn't mud, it's shape, it's pattern, it's you changed. In the late afternoon, when the sun hangs lower and even the wind seems to nap, you walk alone. Not far, just to the hill behind the granary, where a row of flat stones marks the oldest part of the village. A quiet, unspoken cemetery, not of bodies, but of names. Etched into each stone is the name of a rice spirit from years past, the child who named them, and a single line someone remembered about that season. You read them slowly. Zavonia, named by little Halima. The year the fish returned to the paddies. Ranoheti, named by Dada Noro. When the wind stopped for 3 days and the rice didn't mind. Sikarata, named by unknown. The year of laughter during lightning. And then Andaliko, named by Rehia, the one who arrived after a beetle's goodbye. You blink. Someone had already written it. Someone remembered. You crouch, run your fingers over the smooth, worn letters. There's no plaque, no flower, no offering. Just the name, the child, the story. And you realize that's enough. On the way back to the village, you pass a woman walking in the opposite direction. She nods, carries a basket filled with seed and a flute. She's already thinking about next season, the next ritual, the next rice name, waiting to be dreamed. You reach the central path just as torches begin to glow, but tonight they're not for ceremony, they're just light. The village prepares for rest, not sacred rest, not ritual sleep, just bedtime. Mats are laid out, children are herded, elders stretch their backs and mutter about knees and weather and why the frogs haven't come back yet. You sit one last time near the granary. It's quiet. The hair seal still holds. The flute charm is still tucked at the frame. You place your small rice token, the disc with the single dot, on the threshold. Just for a moment. Then you pick it back up and slip it into your pocket. Because some things aren't meant to be left behind. There is a quiet that arrives only after farewells. It's different from sleep, different from silence. It's the sound of something big finishing without fanfare, the final page of a long letter, the last footprint after a journey, the gentle closing of a granary door that won't open again for a season. That's the kind of quiet surrounding you now. You wake just before dawn, again. Your body has learned the rhythm. Your breath matches the wind, and the rice? while the rice is still there, waiting, waving gently like a friend who hasn't yet gone back inside. You pack your things slowly, there's not much. A few woven tokens, a dried mango flower, the rice token, a soft piece of cloth that smells like wood smoke and ginger. It all fits easily into a satchel. But there's something else you carry, something heavier and invisible. It rests on your shoulders, in your chest, behind your eyes. It's called not being the same. You step outside into a village that's already begun its day, but it's different now. Not in appearance. People still sweep porches, stir pots, untangle fishing lines, but in energy. The intensity of the ritual is gone, replaced by a calm, satisfied momentum, as if the place has taken a long breath and is now exhaling, slowly, deliberately, all the way to its toes. You walk to the paddies one last time. They're full now, not overflowing, just full. The golden heads of rice bow gracefully, heavy with promise. The reflections in the water are soft and sure. The frogs are back. You hear them chirping quietly in the shade. You nod to them. One blinks at you. Truce. At the edge of the field, you find a small girl crouched beside a flat stone. Her hands are muddy. Her tongue sticks out as she carefully presses a tiny drawing into the damp soil. You look closer. It's a fish, and a moon, and, somehow, a beetle with a crown. You smile. She looks up. So it remembers. What does? The rice, she says, naturally. You continue walking past the granary, past the tall house with the leaning roof, past the 3 stones where elders still gather to mutter about the quality of this year's chili harvest. You nod, they nod back. One of them hands you a tiny piece of fermented banana cake. For the road, he grunts. You take it. It smells like wisdom and regret and caramel. As you approach the village's outer path, the one that leads toward the world beyond the fields, people begin to appear. Not in crowds, not in a line. Just here and there. A child with a stick. A woman adjusting her shawl. The man with the song about sneezing goats. They don't wave, they don't shout, they just appear, quietly, like punctuation at the end of a good sentence. And they do something you don't expect. They start to hum, softly. That tune again, the one that appeared on the first day, when you stepped into the mist and someone drew the first furrow with a polished stone. It's not loud, not dramatic. Just a low, slow hum that builds barely, then fades, then returns. You walk slower. One woman steps forward and tucks something into your satchel. You don't open it. You already know. It's a handful of uncooked rice, tied in cloth with raffia string. A seed memory. You reach the end of the path, the place where the road curves and disappears into the trees. The forest is quiet. A few birds stir. Somewhere, a bamboo chime clinks lazily in the breeze. You pause, turn back, and there they are. A dozen villagers, maybe more, standing where the path meets the village. Not in a straight line, just present, watching. Not asking anything, just seeing you off. One by one, they raise their hands, not high, not stiff, just enough. A farewell not of formality, but of a recognition. And just as you're about to turn, one final figure appears. It's the child who named the rice spirit. She walks forward slowly, holding something in both hands. You kneel. She opens her palms. There, resting gently, is a single grain of rice. But not plain. It's painted delicately. 3 dots on one side and a tiny swirl on the other. She places it into your palm. It's Undalico, she says, so you don't forget. You nod, mouth suddenly dry. She leans in, whispers, if you plant it in a dream, it'll grow in your bones. You have no idea what that means. But you believe her anyway. And then, with the rice in your hand and the song fading behind you, you step forward, onto the path, into the trees, back into the world, and the wind carries a single word behind you, soft, certain, and impossibly full. Misaotra. Thank you. The world you return to feels different, wider, quieter, somehow older than you remember, not because it has changed, but because you have. As you walk away from the village, the memory of the rice fields stays with you, like the hum of a song you didn't realize was playing beneath your thoughts until you stopped to listen. The scent of lemongrass lingers in the air. The rhythm of pounding pestles echoes faintly in your heartbeat. You remember the sacred ash mixed with rainwater, the first furrow carved with reverence, and the delicate ritual dance of the red, raffia-clad figures whose steps spoke in a language older than words. You carry with you the name Undaliko, whispered by a child, a spirit both elusive and profound, whose presence is etched into the soil and the stories of those who tended the paddies. The beating of drums fades into the distance, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of a night bird. You realize the ritual is not just about planting rice, it's about planting yourself within a cycle of patience, respect, and connection. The beetle you accidentally crushed still haunts your memory, a reminder that even the smallest actions ripple through the tapestry of tradition. You smile at the thought and feel a strange gratitude for the unexpected moments that made this journey so real. As you continue walking, Tiktiti, his sun dips low, casting long shadows that stretch toward the horizon like gentle fingers reaching for home. The mango flower you still clutch in your hand feels warm and alive, a symbol of survival, a token of belonging. And in the quiet moments between breath and step, you understand something profound. The ancient Malagasy rice rituals are more than ceremonies. They are a slow dance with time, a whispered promise between earth and sky, a gentle reminder that growth requires patience, humility, and above all, love. Now, as the stars begin to emerge one by one, you find a quiet place to rest. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the soft hum of the past lull you into a peaceful sleep. Because sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that help us sleep, and sometimes those stories are whispered not in words, but in the rustling of rice stalks under the moonlight. Good night and misaotra. Thank you for sharing this journey. You awaken to a sky painted with soft pastel hues, the kind of morning that seems reluctant to begin, as if even the sun is savouring its slow rise over the hills. The air smells faintly of wet earth and wildflowers, a delicate contrast to the rich scents of lemongrass and rice you carried with you from the village. Your body still hums with the rhythm of the rituals, each breath a reminder of the days spent in sacred mud and whispered songs. You feel lighter, yet somehow heavier, with the weight of memory, belonging, and the knowledge that you've been part of something timeless. The village, now distant, seems less like a place and more like a living story, etched into the land itself. Each step you take feels like turning a page, each breath like a line in a poem written long ago by those who walked these fields before you. You pause by a stream, watching the water ripple over smooth stones, reflecting the dawn in shimmering fragments. You toss a small stone in, and the ripples spread outward, like the effects of the rituals you witnessed, quietly moving through time and space. You think about the beetle again, the unexpected reminder that even the smallest being has a role in the grand dance. You smile, realizing that every step, every breath, every whispered name is part of a delicate balance. As the morning light grows stronger, you take out the carved rice token from your pocket, turning it slowly in your hand. It feels warm, alive with the stories you carry. You realize that this journey is not just about rice, rituals, or distant villages. It's about connection to the earth beneath your feet, to the ancestors who came before, and to the quiet, sacred rhythms that bind us all. With a deep breath, you set the token gently on the stream's edge, watching as the water embraces it and carries it slowly downstream. And as the token drifts away, you whisper your own promise to remember, to honor, and to carry these stories wherever your path may lead. Because some rituals don't end, they live on, in the stories we tell, in the memories we keep, and in the peaceful sleep they inspire. You smile, and with that you walk forward, ready for whatever comes next. As you journey onward, you carry with you not just the memories of the rice rituals, but a newfound patience, a gentle understanding that some things cannot be rushed or forced. You recall how the villagers moved in harmony with the land, respecting the seasons, the spirits, and each other. Their lives intertwined with the rice not as masters, but as humble partners in a dance older than time. You think about the slow rituals, the whispering to soil, the the careful planting of each stalk, the naming of the rice spirit by a child's innocent voice. And you realize that in a world obsessed with speed, they offer a radical lesson. To slow down is to truly grow. You find yourself humming one of the songs you heard on that soft hilltop. Words you barely understood, but melodies that now resonate deep within your bones. The sun warms your face as you walk beneath wide branches, leaves rustling in a breeze that feels like an old friend's whisper. You pause to pick up a fallen rice stalk, its golden grains heavy and full. You cradle it in your hands, feeling the weight of generations. There's a quiet power in that simple stalk, a reminder that life unfolds in cycles and every end is a new beginning. As the day stretches ahead, you feel the stories you've gathered ripple outward like seeds on the wind, ready to take root in new places. And though you may leave the village behind, the rhythms of the ancient Malagasy rice rituals will remain with you, woven into your dreams, your breath, your very being. So, as evening draws near, you prepare to rest once more, carrying a peaceful heart and the soft rustle of rice fields in your mind. And perhaps as you drift into sleep, you will hear again the gentle voice of the child who named Undaliko whispering through the leaves. Plant it, child, it's meant for you. The path you now walk feels less like a journey home and more like a gentle return to yourself. The rituals and stories have settled into your bones, and the world seems to hum a little slower, a little softer. You remember the careful mixing of rainwater and ash, the slow carving of the first furrow, and the fragrant smoke of burning lemongrass drifting across the fields. You think of the rhythmic dance of the red raffia-clad dancers, their steps echoing the growth of the rice itself. The names of the rice spirits linger, Undaliko, Manoro, Ranoheti, each a thread in the vast tapestry of tradition that weaves through time. As you sit beneath a broad baobab tree, you close your eyes and feel the wind weave through your hair, carrying with it the whispers of ancestors and the quiet promise of new growth. You sense the earth beneath you, warm and alive, a pulse that mirrors your own. The rituals, the stories, the small moments, the beetle, the chili floating in water, the child's whispered name have become part of your story now. You breathe deeply, feeling the sacred rhythm of patience and reverence settle into your soul. And in that stillness you find peace, because sometimes the most profound journeys are not about where you go, but what you carry with you. You smile softly, ready to rest, ready to dream, and ready to carry the ancient Malagasy rituals in your heart. The sun dips low again, casting long golden shadows that stretch lazily across the rice paddies. You find yourself drawn to the edge of a quiet canal, where the water flows slowly, and the floating lamps once drifted in the night. The air is thick with the scent of wet earth and lingering smoke, a fragrant reminder of days steeped in ritual and reverence. As twilight deepens, the village begins to prepare for the final farewell, a gentle closing of the season and an honouring of the rice spirit, Undaliko. You notice how the villagers move with a softness now, careful not to disturb the stillness that has settled over the land. A soft murmur rises from the gathering crowd, a collective breath held in unison. In the centre, a small fire flickers, its flames dancing like whispered memories. The elders begin to sing, a slow, haunting melody that weaves through the cool evening air, carrying stories of harvests past and hopes for seasons yet to come. You listen, the words wrapping around you like a warm shawl, comforting and mysterious. The song tells of patience rewarded, of humility honored, and of the sacred bond between the people and the rice that sustains them. One by one, villagers step forward to place offerings into the fire, bundles of dried herbs, small bowls of rice, and delicate flowers gathered from the fields. Each act is quiet, deliberate, a sacred gesture of gratitude and farewell. You join them, adding the last mango flower from your satchel to the blaze. As the petals curl and smoke, you feel a gentle release, a letting go of the journey, but not of the memories or the lessons carried within. The fire's glow illuminates faces etched with stories, eyes reflecting both the past and the promise of future growth. The song lingers in the air long after the flames have died down, a timeless echo of connection and reverence. As darkness fully embraces the land, you take a deep breath, feeling the rhythm of the ancient Malagasy rice rituals settle deep within you. The fields, the spirits, and the people have shared their story, and now so have you. With a heart full of peace and a soul touched by tradition, you prepare to rest, ready to dream of rice fields bathed in moonlight, of whispered names carried on the wind, and of a gentle, endless dance between earth and sky. Dawn spills quietly over the hills, brushing the rice fields with pale light. The earth feels soft beneath your feet, still damp from the night's gentle mist. You pause by the water's edge, watching as the first reflections of morning ripple and stretch, breaking apart the mirror-like surface you've come to know so well. In this calm moment, you recall the twin plumes of incense, one for the living, one for the dead, that rose in delicate spirals from either side of the village. Each smoke trail told a story, one of ongoing life and care, the other of remembrance and respect for those who walked these fields before. You sense the quiet power of that ritual, its whispered promise to balance worlds seen and unseen. The air here holds those mingled scents, pine, tamarind, lemongrass, like a sacred perfume. The villagers gather again, their faces serene and thoughtful. Some carry woven baskets filled with freshly harvested rice, others clutch bundles of herbs and small wooden tokens, while children chase butterflies through the damp grass, their laughter light as the wind. You watch as an elder steps forward, holding a long stalk of rice tied with bright red thread. She moves deliberately, pausing before the granary's wooden door. With reverence, she traces a line along the frame, whispering words in the old tongue, blessings for protection, for abundance, for the safety of what lies within. The granary stands firm, sealed with hair and memory, guarding the precious grain until the next season calls it forth. It's more than storage. It's a symbol of continuity, a vessel for the spirit of the harvest. Nearby, children play under the watchful eyes of the elders, weaving tales of rice spirits and dancing frogs, keeping alive the stories that bind the community across generations. As the day unfolds, you feel the gentle hum of life moving in harmony, the soft footsteps through fields, the murmur of voices in shared work, the steady rhythm of nature's unfolding. And in this moment, you understand, the ancient Malagasy rice rituals are not just about planting and harvest. They are a living conversation, a circle unbroken, a dance of respect between people, earth, and time. You breathe deeply, letting the peace of this place settle within you. The journey may continue beyond these fields, but the rhythm of the rice will always be with you. As twilight paints the sky with hues of deep orange and purple, you find yourself wandering back toward the village. The air is cooler now, carrying whispers of lemongrass and freshly turned earth, mingled with the faint, smoky scent of distant fires. Near the heart of the village, a curious sight catches your eye. A man stands tall, crowned not with gold or jewels, but with a garland woven from rice stalks, bright, golden, and slightly wild, as if the harvest itself had crowned him king for a day. He wears a wide grin and carries the weight of his newfound title with surprising ease. This is the Rice King, a temporary role bestowed upon the one who has shown steadfast care and reverence throughout the ritual season. His crown is both a symbol and a responsibility, a living reminder of the bond between the people and the earth. Surrounding him are villagers laughing and clapping, some holding freshly tied bundles of rice, others playing small drums that thump with joyful abandon. The king moves through the crowd, careful not to dislodge his delicate crown, pausing to bless fields and exchange warm smiles. You watch as children chase one another, their feet stirring up dust that glows golden in the last light of day. The energy is infectious, a shared celebration of growth, life, and the cycle that continues year after year. Someone offers you a piece of sticky rice cake, warm and fragrant, and you accept, feeling the sweetness linger on your tongue like a promise. Nearby, a group of women begins a slow, rhythmic dance, their skirts rustling like leaves, seed pods jingling softly at their ankles. Their movements tell a story of planting, waiting, and harvest, carried down through generations. You join the dance, letting the music and motion weave through you, connecting past and present in a seamless embrace. As night falls and stars begin to twinkle overhead, the village gathers around a glowing fire. Stories are shared of spirits, seasons, and sacred rice, and you listen, heart full, as the circle widens and the rhythm of the rice continues to pulse through the night. The night deepens, wrapping the village in a velvet hush, pierced only by the soft crackle of the fire and the distant chorus of frogs. The dance has settled into a gentle rhythm, bodies swaying in time with ancient melodies that seem older than the hills themselves. Suddenly a figure emerges from the shadows, wrapped in layers of colourful scarves that ripple like a sunset caught in fabric.
She moves away.
She moves with purpose and grace. This is the sorceress, a revered presence whose arrival marks a turning point in the ritual. Her eyes gleam with wisdom and mischief as she approaches the circle, carrying a small basket brimming with stones, feathers, roots, and mysterious trinkets. The villagers fall silent, anticipation thick in the air. She speaks not with words but with riddles, 3 questions posed to those gathered. Each riddle is a test of knowledge, intuition, and spirit. The crowd listens intently as she recites the first. I am eaten before I'm born, and drunk before I'm poured. What am I? Murmurs ripple through the assembly. A child's voice breaks the silence. Rice milk! The sorceress nods, a smile playing at her lips. Her second riddle follows. I grow in silence, die in water, and dance when forgotten. An elder answers thoughtfully, ash. Again, the sorceress acknowledges the correct answer. The final riddle is whispered like a secret. I belong to everyone, but can never be shared. If spoken, I disappear. A hush falls. Then a voice, soft but certain. A secret. The sorceress beams, pleased. Those who answer all 3 receive blessings, while others are gently guided toward tasks to complete before the next moonrise. She moves through the crowd, offering tokens carved from rice husk and resin, symbols of dreams without confusion and paths yet to be walked. As her presence fades like a whisper on the wind, the village settles back into the night, hearts lightened and spirits lifted. You feel honored to have witnessed this dance of riddles and blessings, a final weaving of mystery into the fabric of the ritual. The fire dims, the stars shine brighter, and you close your eyes, carrying the sorceress's riddles deep within your soul. You awaken to a gentle stir of the night, fireflies blinking softly like distant stars, their glow weaving through the trees. The village is still wrapped in silence, save for the faint rustle of palm leaves and the occasional croak of frogs settling in for the pre-dawn hours. You find yourself drawn back to the edge of the paddies, where the water lies still as glass, reflecting the faintest hint of a waning moon. Tonight, the villagers gather once more, not for song or dance, but for a ritual as old as the land itself, the floating lamp ceremony. Each person holds a small handcrafted vessel made from folded banana leaves, its center cradling a wick dipped in beeswax. The lamps are simple, fragile, tiny islands of light meant to carry away misfortune and invite blessings from the spirits. You take your place along the canal's edge, the cool mud pressing between your toes. Around you, lamps flicker to life, their flames trembling in the gentle night breeze. One by one, the lamps are set afloat, drifting softly down the winding waterways that thread through the rice fields. Their light dances on the water's surface, casting golden ripples that stretch into the dark. The scene is breathtaking. Hundreds of tiny lights gliding like stars come to rest on earth. As the lamps float away, villagers whisper prayers and hopes into the night, sending them along with the flickering flames. You watch as your own lamp drifts past reeds and lily pads, its glow steady and bright despite the slow current. Some say the lamps guide the spirits home. Others believe they carry away illness, envy, and sorrow, making space for new growth and joy. You listen to the soft hum of voices and the gentle lapping of water against the banks. The lamp's journey is both an ending and a beginning, a moment of letting go and embracing what comes next. As the last lamp disappears into the darkness, you feel a profound stillness settle over the land and your heart. This quiet grace is the soul of the ritual, the place where earth, water, light, and spirit meet. You close your eyes and breathe it in, knowing that this light will live within you long after the lamps have gone. The quiet harvest begins under the veil of nightfall, when the world feels hushed and reverent, as if the rice itself holds its breath. You find yourself once again kneeling in the soft, cool mud, surrounded by figures moving with delicate purpose. The only light comes from flickering torches held by the women in blue robes, their steady flames casting dancing shadows on the golden stalks. No songs rise tonight, no chants, just the whisper of cutting blades parting stalks one by one. The first ceremonial handful of rice is harvested with reverence, each stalk carefully severed and placed in woven baskets lined with banana leaves. You watch as the elders move silently, their hands steady and practiced. The cutting is slow, deliberate, a sacred act marking the transition from ritual to reality. A faint drop of dew clings to one severed stalk, catching the torchlight like a tiny jewel. Someone nearby murmurs, "The first stalk always weeps." You feel the weight of the moment, the culmination of patience, hope, and deep respect. As you gather your own handful, you sense the rice's quiet power, the promise of nourishment, the echo of generations, the breath of the earth itself. The harvest is not a celebration, but a communion, a joining of hands and hearts with the land that sustains. The night air carries the scent of crushed rice and smoke, mingled with something sweet and earthy. You rise slowly, the mud clinging to your knees, and look across the paddies where countless stalks bow gently in the torchlight. The harvest has begun, and you are part of it. The dawn arrives wrapped in a soft haze, the sky painted with gentle strokes of pink and gold. You awaken to the distant crow of a rooster, mingled with the murmurs of villagers already stirring in the cool morning air. Today is the day of the final feast, a celebration that threads together all the rituals, stories, and labors of the season into a joyful tapestry of shared abundance. You follow the winding paths between the paddies as the scents of roasted sweet rice cakes, spiced greens, and fermented cow's milk stew fill the air. Aromas both familiar and deeply comforting, the feast unfolds like a wandering river, flowing from field to field, each stop offering a new dish, a new taste, a new story. You savor sticky rice balls floating in honeyed tamarind broth, and the rich tang of peanut and chili paste wrapped in cassava skins. Children dart through the crowd, laughter bubbling like fresh water, while elders share tales of past harvests, their voices soft but alive with memory. As you join in the dancing on the hilltop, bodies moving in joyful rhythm beneath the vast est. Kai, you feel the pulse of the village, the heartbeat of a people intimately bound to the land and each other. The sun sinks slowly, bathing the fields in a warm, rosy glow. You collapse onto the grass, breathless and happy, the soft rustle of rice stalks singing a lullaby that carries you gently into sleep. Night descends like a velvet curtain, soft and full of possibility. The village settles into a peaceful hush, the kind that wraps around you like a familiar shawl. You find yourself drawn once more to the lookout point atop the hill, the place where stories begin and end, where the rhythms of the rice fields are whispered to the stars. Here, under the vast expanse of sky, the villagers gather in a loose circle. The fire flickers low, casting gentle shadows that dance alongside the tales being shared. Voices rise and fall in a tapestry of memory, weaving together past seasons, lost loved ones, and the enduring spirit of the land. Songs flow effortlessly, ancient melodies mingling with laughter and quiet sighs. You hum along, the notes settling deep within your bones. The names of rice spirits, Aindaliko among them, float on the breeze, carried like blessings into the night. As the stars multiply overhead, the village breathes as one, connected by soil, seed, and song. You close your eyes, feeling the steady pulse of the earth beneath you, the gentle weight of tradition cradling your heart. And in that moment, you understand the ancient Malagasy rice rituals are not just ceremonies. They are a living, breathing story that continues with every seed sown, every name whispered, every hand joined. With a heart full of gratitude and peace, you drift into sleep, the soft rustle of rice stalks serenading you into dreams. The final morning dawned slowly, as if reluctant to bring an end to this sacred time. The mist lingers low over the paddies, softening the edges of the world and wrapping everything in a gentle hush. You rise with the village one last time, the air cool and fragrant with earth and rain. Today is a day of closing, of farewells whispered in the wind, and of gratitude offered in silence. The granary remains sealed with hair and memory, a solemn guardian of the harvest's bounty. The fields bow beneath the weight of ripened grains, their golden heads nodding in quiet acknowledgement. You gather at the edge of the village where the elders stand, their faces etched with wisdom and weathered by time. One by one, they place offerings of rice, flowers, and small tokens upon a stone altar, a final gesture of thanks to the spirits who have guided this season. The child who named Aindaliko steps forward, placing a single grain of painted rice into your hand. Her eyes meet yours, shining with a knowing light. "If you plant this in your dreams," she whispers, "it will grow within you." You nod, holding the grain close to your heart. As the sun climbs, the village begins to stir toward a new rhythm, the ancient cycle turning once again. You take your first steps away from the fields, carrying with you the slow, sacred rhythm of Malagasy rice rituals, the stories, the songs, the whispers, and the dreams. And as you walk into the world beyond, you know this journey will live within you always, a gentle lullaby woven from earth and spirit, guiding you softly towards sleep. No, de-sleep. Now, as the ritual closes and the world softens into night, you feel the calm settling deep within your bones. The scents of earth and rice linger gently, mingling with the quiet hum of a distant river and the soothing rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze. Let your breath slow, your heartbeat ease, and your thoughts drift like floating lamps on still water, soft, steady, peaceful. Remember the slow dance of the rice, the whispered names carried on the wind, the tender steps of dancers clad in red raffia, and the quiet laughter shared beneath starry skies. Let these memories carry you gently through the night, a lullaby sung by the earth itself. Sleep well, wrapped in the timeless embrace of ancient rhythms. Sweet dreams.